Going country, Grand Ole Opry. This is a fantastic party country record at number. Man, I tripped over this record. I tripped out over this record big time when I first saw the video on CMT last fall, I believe, late last summer. And this is a classic country record that you're not going to hear on the country radio stations, but it should be played big time. Hot rotation on the country records. Boy, she sounds fantastic too. Caitlin and Derek Dry. The Drive with Dolly Wood at number 19 on my fantasy playlist. February 13, 2022. Up 4 from number 23. That Caitlin Drive, boy, she sounds just as good as Dolly. The lyrics of this song are brazen and yet they're cheeky. Very dynamic record. It's a hard driving country record. It is fast. It's got locomotive percussion, thundering percussion that just sends this song off to the races, just right out into orbit, man. And you just gonna have to go right with it. And you're really high when you listen to this record, man. I mean, you don't need to take anything, don't need to take any substances, man. Nothing. Just listen to this record, man. It'll get you going. I'm telling you, the Drives with Dolly Wood. Oh, my fantasy playlist, boy. This is just. It is a classic party country record. It's almost live. Now, in a way, it reminds me a little bit, for some reason, it reminds me a little bit of Delaney and Bonnie and Friends back in the early 70s when they did Only You Know and I Know. They covered that Dave Mason song back in 1971. It reminds me a little bit of that. I'm sure there are other examples, but I can't conjure up any right at the moment. It's Party Time USA. It's the Grand Ole Opry right here. The Louisiana Hayride. It's a country hoedown. It's a hootenanny, or however you pronounce that word. Derek and Caitlin Dry, they met on a blind date. It was at a grill. It was called Me Pablo Mexican Grill. They met there on a blind date back in 2008. Yes, they did, and they grew up in Piedmont. They started writing songs together, and they moved to Nashville in 2014. Big fans of Dolly, obviously big fans of Dolly. Man, I tell you, man, Caitlin Dry, she sounds just about as good as Dolly, almost as good as Dolly, and man, this is a very charismatic song. They came out with a record. They were first renowned for a record they did back in 2018. Of course, when they moved to Nashville, they teamed up with songwriters, and they came out with a song called War back in 2018. That alone picked up 6 million streams rather on Spotify. They've been profiled in Rolling Stone, People Magazine, American Songwriter, and now, when they moved to Nashville, as I've already mentioned that, when they would drive from North Carolina, where they're from, and by the way, I almost forgot to mention this, they're a big fan of Little Big Town, probably already mentioned that too, but I tend to repeat myself, so just bear with me. They opened for Little Big Town in Winston-Salem some years ago. Now, when they would drive from North Carolina to Nashville, they would always pass by Dollywood, the theme park in Gatlinburg. And Caitlin wanted to come up with a song about Dolly, but she wasn't sure how to approach the subject matter. So Derek looks at the sign Dollywood. He says, why don't you write about that? But instead of calling it Dollywood, call it Dolly Wood, W-O-W-O-U-L-D, and that freed up the creative muse right there. Sometimes it just takes a little thing to bust the gates wide open. The words come flowing out, and they team together with a couple of songwriters. And God, guys got to do something. Everybody's complained that country's lost its mojo, it's lost its soul, and then they don't play songs like this on the radio. Come on, give me a break. Man, what else do I need to say? Well, it's great. I love the way the song begins. I wrote it down. I should have memorized it by now because it's a sing-along record. You can sing along to it. And, you know, it's a sing-along record. And it starts out, quote, must be doing something right, never want to do things by the book. And it's a tribute to Dolly, well, unquote. It's a tribute to Dolly Parton. Now, I read something interesting about Dolly Parton. It was Caitlin, I believe, who mentioned this, that Dolly Parton would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and write songs, to start writing songs. So, talking about a very dedicated person, Dolly Parton. Unknown how Dolly Parton feels about this record, but I tell you what, it's dynamite. This song is a stick of dynamite. It's just ready to blow up. You could play this all day on a country station. You don't need to day part this record. No way. You play it 24 hours a day. Hot rotation. Well, medium rotation is better than not being played at all. Obviously suited for country radio, but I'm gonna push it a little bit. I'm gonna push the envelope, or however you want to pronounce it a little bit. I'm gonna say you probably play this on an adult alternative radio station. Well, that is pushing it, isn't it? Dadgummit. Well, hell, I put it on my pop playlist, got it up there to all those BPMs I got on there and the pop records. It's a fun record to listen to. I mean, what's another song I could compare this to? And I can't come up with anything right now. A good live record. I mean, it's almost like Down at Papa Joe's by Dixie Bells. I believe it was the Dixie Bells, but that's not a country record, though. That was a big hit, though. It was a party record. Came out in '63. Oh, gosh. If I Had a Hammer by the Trini Lopez version of it in '63 had that sort of party atmosphere to that, and you got Derek coming in, just saying encouraging things, just pumping the song up. The song will get you pumped up. I mean, it's just, oh man, it's the locomotion 3 or 4 times over. There's a quote. I think I wrote it down somewhere. This is a quote from Caitlin that I picked up. I'll do the quote unquote thing, and then I'm just going to let it go. Quote, you could be talented all you want and sing well and play great instruments. I'm wading through my chicken scratch and play great instruments, but you need to have a story to tell. And they've been through the ups and downs of life, and they distill all that into their music. Now, I mentioned War. They came out with War back in 2018. It's a slow record they did. But I love those fast country records, man. Just boom. You're on the train and you don't want to stop. All right, that's it. I'm done, folks. It's Dollywood by the Drys, Dryes. It is at number 19, or was at number 19. Went a lot higher than that eventually. But at number 19 on my fantasy playlist, February 13th, 2022.